Welcome to Group Dates and Hot Takes. I'm Sampy.
I'm Christy.
Let's talk about The Bachelorette. We're back for what I like to consider the first real episode of the season. Because let's be real, nothing really happens the first episode. So Christy, before we get into a real meaty episode here, do you have any news?
Just one small thing kind of brewing that is not confirmed, but now that Michelle and Nate have broken up, he has been spotted with Deandra. I don't know if you remember her from Paradise last season. She had the long blonde braids. They've been spotted like hanging out, touching each other.
Touching each other? That makes me uncomfortable.
Well, it's just like her hand on his leg or whatever. Remember I told you last week she was wearing his necklace. So he seems to have moved on rather quickly, even though nothing is like confirmed there. And apparently Caitlyn and Becca have unfollowed him on Instagram.
Oh, you know things are heating up when they start unfollowing each other. Yeah, that's just really, and I know it probably more the norm than not, but how quickly these people move on it just makes me uncomfortable. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, and especially moving on with another Bachelor Nation person. That just was a little weird, but...
Right, and I don't want to be throwing out things here left and right, but there's maybe a little bit of connotation sometimes where it's like, okay, well, you were going out with this person from The Bachelor, and now half a second later you're going out with somebody again. Like, it just seems like there could be overlap a lot of the time.
Yeah, because he also like followed her a long time ago on Instagram, so people are speculating.
It's real weird to me, but thank you for that little tidbit. My goodness. Yeah, we've had a lot of these relationships bite the dust of late, which not entirely unexpected, but still a little sad. I also have an announcement to make.
Oh.
Yes. So I am in a major push right now to professionalize group dates and hot takes. And the big part of that I wanted to announce is we now have a YouTube channel. Whoa!
Very exciting.
So, if for some reason you like to listen to your podcasts on YouTube instead of a different normal podcasting app like most people, our podcasts will be available on YouTube going forward, which is super cool. Is it really that exciting? Not particularly. I did make a little audio visualizer widgety thing so you can see the waveform as we talk to you. But yeah, all of our episodes will be there going forward. There may even be the episodes from this season, and maybe even our Married at First Sight couple of episodes up there by the time this episode airs or is published, however you want to say it. That is, of course, depending on the good graces of YouTube, whether or not that happens. But over the next week or so, we should have our entire backlog of 53 episodes on YouTube for everyone to find and see. So that is the situation with that. Without further ado, let's talk about this episode, Christy. Let's do it.
Yes, we had what I think might be the lowest budget group date of all time. So apparently it was raining.
Yeah.
And so that means the only thing we can do is hang out at the Bachelor Mansion.
Right. And
of all, like, LA has so much to do.
And I'll be totally honest with you. I keep trying to soften the blow and say, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. But let's be real, okay? I do want to be mean because this is just ridiculous to me. I mean, we had this whole sequence where our two bachelorettes are essentially just complaining about the weather. Oh, it's raining. What are we gonna do? Oh, we have everything we could possibly want. We're in one of the most just happening cities in the U.S. Oh, but it's drizzling. I guess we gotta do a shirtless ab strip date. That's all there is that's left.
How pathetic. I love how they're like, we have to come up with some ideas. Like, no, the producers do that.
Right, and actually, that's a great segue. And I know we're getting off topic here, but I wanted your honest assessment here. What do you think is going on here? Because what it looks like to me, a more untrained eye, is that the producers, ABC, Jesse, whatever his name is, have all abdicated any sort of responsibility for this is like Mad Max now. This is the apocalypse and nobody is in control.
That's what they want you to think. But behind the scenes, this is all very carefully orchestrated. Or maybe not carefully, like haphazardly orchestrated.
Yeah, I would probably push back on the carefully myself.
Yeah, they're trying. It's the illusion of, oh, the girls are in control. But I just don't believe that.
I just want to know what they're paying Jesse for.
The same thing they paid Chris Harrison for. It's just to stand there and deliver the date cards and the final rose.
But didn't he do some actual producing?
Yeah, he was also a producer. I don't know what that really means, like how much influence he actually had behind the scenes, but
yeah, I don't know about that. They
just want this girl power, like, in control narrative.
No, I disagree. What they want is for the two of them to collide and destroy each other.
Well, that's also part of it.
That is what they really want. Can we just briefly touch on the fact that they held this season in a mansion where there wasn't even enough space for everyone?
I know. I laughed so hard when I saw that. Like, once again, no planning. They had guys sleeping outside, like on the sofas.
Do you think that a big part of that was just that they weren't expecting the rose ceremony to get canceled, so there were enough beds for,
I guess,
21? I think 21 is the number we landed on at the end of this episode after our now first rose ceremony.
Yeah, essentially we end this episode where we should have ended the first week. So yeah, there would be enough beds now.
Maybe. We may start this next episode and people are still complaining about not having enough beds.
Those shots of the guys cooking in the kitchen, it looked crowded.
Great planning all around. But yeah, so back to our regularly scheduled programming here. I still don't. This whole, we're the Bachelorettes and we're giving you guys gifts. You're not giving them gifts. It's literally just bags with Speedos.
It's a gift of humiliation.
How does that make any sense to pretend that's a gift?
I mean, they do the same thing when it's The Bachelor and they drop off like lingerie or whatever for whatever kind of silly competition.
Yeah, again, low effort thing.
Supremely low effort.
Yeah, it's like, hey, production assistant, we're gonna need you to run out to JCPenney and just get us 40 Speedos
and some bathrobes.
And
that's it. That's the extent of the date.
Yeah, because really, they told them, put on a Speedo, and you're gonna have to show your front and your behind, and we're gonna judge you, and then the select few get to come to the after party. Okay.
Yeah, some highlights from this. Quincy wore a very strange looking one. It's very hard to describe too. It's like over the shoulder, down the back, around
like
the front.
Hammock.
Yeah. Not the most flattering in my opinion.
So, well, yeah, and also just wedgie central.
Yes.
Let me tell you. I think it's called like a slingshot or something like that.
Yeah, it kind of does look like
because it's like two straps in the front to cover your nipples, and obviously the goods down below, and then it just connects to one and goes right into your butt crack in the back, which seems like it wouldn't be particularly comfortable.
No.
So they just watch them do this, ask some of the guys random questions.
Black boxes everywhere.
Well, yeah, because you don't want any tidbits escaping. Yeah.
And then we had the meat sauce guy who I think his name is James.
I don't know. They just call him Meatball.
I know,
because he's one of the 15 Italian guys that they brought on this season.
But he poured spaghetti sauce all over him, and it was supposed to be this sensual thing, but it was so nasty.
I'll be honest, I don't think there's a world in which I would view marinara sauce as sensual.
But it was all in between his toes. It was such a mess.
You know what? Okay. You don't, when you think sexy, a guy wearing just a Speedo pouring a can of chunky marinara sauce on himself, on his chest, that's not what pops into your mind?
Not exactly.
Oh, wow. You're really missing out.
Apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we also had a little bit of, I don't know if this is necessarily boldness, but they did ask Johnny if he had to choose, which of them would he kiss? And he was like, both of you? And they were like, oh, wow, good answer. And then he definitely wanted to kiss both of them on the lips, but he settled for just a peck on the cheek since they were both there.
He dodged a bullet.
You don't want to be going full tongue in that sort of circumstance. But Rachel seemed to really appreciate that. Also, my note for this is just Chris is a nightmare.
Well, he got everyone to create a beat for him with stomping and clapping, and then,
right, because if I recall correctly, what he said was his favorite things, or some of his favorite things, are sports, music, and leadership. So So he was smacking a basketball, like dribbling a basketball in slow time for the sports. He was making everybody else like stomp and clap for leadership. And then he was also like doing some singing that was, it was bad. I'll just put it this way. He could not carry a tune in a bucket.
Well, his chyron did say tone deaf. I don't know if you noticed that. Right underneath.
Oh, it was
his
very
name.
apparent. Because he also, oh my word, it was so bad. Because he had an ITM there where he was singing something about how, like, I'm sure how awesome he was and how, like, he was gonna get to go to the after party, and it was so bad. There was no key remotely near what he was doing whatsoever. It was absolutely awful. And just combined with everything else that's going to happen,
I was going to say that wasn't even the worst of it for him
No.
this episode.
No, that was just the start of the nightmare with Chris. And unsurprisingly, he did not make the cut for the after party.
No, and they actually only had 6 men make the cut, which is probably better for like getting to know people. They had Avon, Logan, Brandon, Jason, Johnny, and Colin.
Right. I did think they were probably going to have a couple more people there. But yeah, this is also just it's prime kissing time. Oh yeah.
This was also just a very, very awkward after party.
Yeah.
Because it first starts off with Rachel and Jason, and he's like, I need to tell you that actually I'm more interested in Gabby. It's just very awkward, and she like tried to laugh it off, but like that must hurt.
Yeah, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I do really think that having both of them makes things way just infinitely more awkward.
Mm-hmm.
If infinitely, and that is, I don't know how you can have double infinity, but in this case it's possible. That is just absolutely doubled when you end up having both of them there at the same time. Oh, that ends up being so bad.
Yeah, so we see Gabby and Johnny making out.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. How do you think the Logan situation is gonna end up?
I don't know. Like they showed him making out with both of them on the same night here, which I don't understand what he was thinking there, because you know that's going to be shown. You make out with both of them back to back like that, and then Rachel and Gabby debrief and then like have to awkwardly tell each other, yeah, I kissed him. Oh wait, I also like him too. And then Gabby is like, this is really weird, because it totally is. And then Rachel's like, well, I'll back off if Gabby's super interested. And then it's just, I don't know how else to describe it other than awkward. Very uncomfortable.
Yes, like I don't know, everything like this just always brings up in my mind again. Yep, they're friends for now. Oh, they're. I think for this episode, I think I probably have that in my notes like 3 or 4 times. They're still friends for now. ... To be determined. Because really, that, I don't know, there are definitely going to be hurt feelings.
Yeah, I mean, Gabby
with that.
Gabby also made sure to say, well, it's not worth like a guy coming between us. Like, I'll just back off. I mean,
the whole point is finding a guy, so it's going to be a problem at some point. The question just ends up being when. I mean, you also, I mean, you have the the guys are worried about that too. They're like, well, like, how are we supposed to handle this? I don't know, because that really is, I would say, the big question of this season. I mean, all the guys are worried about it. Rachel and Gabby are worried about it. And how is this going to go down? Because I don't see it ending well for anyone.
Well, Rachel wins Logan at this point, at least. She gave her rose to him, and Gabby gave hers to Johnny.
Which...
crisis averted for the moment,
For the moment. And I wrote in my notes, Gabby gives her rose to Johnny before it happened. That's how prophetic I am.
Oh, before it... okay.
No, it was the obvious choice if Rachel was going to give the Logan rose. Oh boy, yeah, I just can't shake the feeling that we're headed towards an inevitable and unavoidable train wreck. That's going to just be a lot of crying from everyone. All the guys, all the girls, Jesse, just everyone. Yeah, well, we finally get a one-on-one date. How exciting is that?
That's what I thought. This did not turn out how I was expecting. So it's Jordan V and Rachel. And Jordan is the one, I guess, who showed her his race car last episode.
Right, because he's a drag racer. Which basically just means you go as fast as possible in a straight line for a quarter of a mile. Which is cool.
Yeah.
But he came specifically for her.
Yes. And so I didn't catch what kind of car it was, but it's like a fancy vintage.
Yeah, it's just some vintage convertible.
Yeah, so she drives them to an airplane so they can do some sort of zero gravity experience.
So cool. So freaking cool. Essentially, as I understand it, you go up, and at the apex of your arc, you actually hit 0G and can float around the plane for like 30 seconds or something like that. So cool. Sign me up 100% for this date. Absolutely.
Well, I would not sign up for this date, which I'm sure surprises nobody.
Kirsty likes to live on the safe side.
On the ground.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't want to have some 0G make-out time?
Oh, I'll pass.
I mean,
they did, though.
Oh, absolutely. She was totally loving it. He was not so much loving it, but, just being with her it just calmed all of his fears.
Well, back at the house,
Oh.
Chris starts his downfall, talking about how, it would be a deal breaker if, I'm at the fantasy suites with one of them and, I'm the third guy and that she's already slept with people. So this sets off all sorts of red flags with the rest of the men.
Well, and this is also, and I know this is part of why it ended up creating so much wave, but that is the most ridiculous thing. Okay, just in case everyone hasn't been paying attention, we haven't had a single rose ceremony yet. There have literally been only boring people sent home who were tactically targeted. That is it for people who have gone home. Still 29 guys. and you are projecting forward to fantasy suites. I mean, at this point, we haven't seen it, at least. He may not have even talked to either of them a single time.
A little premature.
Just a little bit. And I keep bringing this up before we recorded, but I'm gonna keep bringing this up. I've brought this up, I'm sure, on previous seasons of Group Dates and Hot Takes, because this keeps coming up every once in a while. But man, does it really grind my gears when a guy is talking in this sort of context and refers to women as females. Oh boy, that is a big old red flag. Because every time, shocker, the guy seems to have absolutely zero respect for the women or woman he's talking about, or generally speaking, it seems, for women in general. I mean, that's been the case through seasons past, and I can't remember off the top of my head who has said that, but like some of the big idiots / big villains have very much had that mindset, and it just it's very irritating.
There was a guy on Michelle's season who did that. The guy from like talking about Miami females or something.
Right.
I don't remember his name.
Who was that? Yeah. Oh, you just hear that and you go, this guy is an idiot. So just gross, or at least bordering on gross with that sort of mindset. Ugh, what an idiot. But we go back to the nighttime portion that shocked us all.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know. Jordan seems nice, like, and normal. Talked about how his younger brother and sister had to take care of them because his parents divorced. And after this talk, Rachel just gets up and is like talking to her producer and is like, there's something missing. And I'm just like, uh-oh. That is not a good sign.
No, not really. And it seemed like it was a bummer. They seemed like they were really vibing.
I know. I don't know what changed or what happened, or
because you have Rachel who is a pilot. You have Jordan, who is a drag racer. So you end up dealing with pretty similar speeds there. Mm-hmm. The sort of understanding of a drive to do something that's more on the edge like that. It seemed like they were really having a good time. And I don't know if his family history just freaked her out or what. I also wanted to ask you regarding all of this. I don't know how to phrase this, but it's interesting to me, I guess, and maybe this isn't so much a question, but just comment on it. It's weird to me, and maybe this is representative of just life in internet dating world and options and stuff, but it seems like you have leads turn down other people and not give them a chance in favor of giving people who they have no knowledge of a chance. So it's like, oh, here's Jordan, who I have a lot in common with and vibe with, and he's a great guy. And it's like, oh, I have a reservation about that. Get out of here. Mm-hmm. When it's like, well, maybe you should give that a little bit of a chance versus just like, oh, let's just now toss him in favor of somebody who I know nothing about because that person I know nothing about could be better.
Yeah, I think the mindset is just, I know this, it's not going to work with this person, so might as well cut them loose.
So weird to me.
It seems harsh, but I guess if you know you got to eliminate everyone but one at the end, if you know it isn't going to happen with somebody, I can understand that thought process.
Right, but how do you know
that quickly? Yeah, I didn't really understand that part.
I guess it's just things we as normal people just don't.
It just seems like
understand.
Maybe if they got to know each other in the real world, it wouldn't have been over so quick.
Right.
But yes, she has to tell him something is missing. And I mean, he understands and is gracious and all, but it was just kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
And they still had the musicians that they booked to play to no one.
No, I think she went after she walked him back. She like went and sort of like listened to them from a distance, because I think where they had the dinner, it seemed like it was some sort of like historic theater or something.
Yeah, it was a big fancy building.
So it seemed like she had sort of sat in the background listening to them in sadness. But yeah, it just seemed like ABC was like, well, that didn't go how we anticipated, but we already paid them and we already licensed the music to be played on live TV.
Yeah.
Oh boy. What? Put it in there. It was just so sad.
I know.
Because typically, especially when you have a couple who seemed like they got on as well as the two, is like, it's always evening portion. Will you accept my rose? Or was it Matt or Clayton who is always bringing the rose with them and not giving them the rose until the later?
Oh, that was Clayton who handed out the rose at the concert.
Right, exactly. Typically, dinner, rose, sway, and make out to music, and it was just, it all crumbled to ash. So sad.
Yep. Guys are shocked when his suitcase got taken away as well. Because, so when does the first date of the season ever end in a dismissal? It's very odd.
It is very odd. And of course, we get cut in here of the guys still freaking out about Chris and that whole situation, and you're playing games, man. You're playing games. And just more. Look, these females.
I love how Nate pointed out how controlling what Chris was saying was, though.
Mm-hmm. My way or the highway. And spoiler alert, it was the highway.
Next is a one-on-one with Nate and Gabby.
Mm-hmm. Will this go better?
There's no way they were going to send two people home in a one-on-one. In the first.
Can you imagine? That would be the least successful first episode dating experience of Bachelor history, probably. You get two leads and both send their first one-on-ones home. No, this was of course going to go way better, despite Gabby's fears and slight freaking out. They're like, but what if I want to send Nate home too? What then? You kind of have had this angst, and it's come more from Rachel as far as what's been shown, but like this angst of like, oh, I just feel all this pressure to be the Bachelorette, but I just want to be myself. And how do I reconcile that with this process and the journey that I'm on? So that's fun. But no, come on. We're not going to have two terrible one-on-ones. They get on real famously.
This was a really weird start, though. Like, Nate comes to – Rachel and Gabby's house, and Rachel is there. So she's just like watching them interact.
Right. I
I
guess
didn't understand.
I guess they have the two of them living in the same chateau or something.
Yes, yeah. Because
Yeah.
this is where they had the group date earlier, like the after party.
My note is morning, champagne, parentheses, why Rachel there, comma, ugh.
Yeah, it just made it awkward to start. Because like they're making out outside and Rachel's just inside.
Right. Yeah, she's like, well, first of all, he arrives there and they're like, hey, you want champagne? So all three of them are drinking champagne before the day- together. And then Gabby and Nate go out and they're just standing on the hilltop, presumably just about right outside, just making out with tongue as they wait for the helicopter to arrive. As Rachel's probably just like standing out the window, just watching.
I know. It's just
Ugh.
so strange. But yes, they get in the helicopter and
Yeah, it was also just a weird daytime portion too, kind of, because nothing really happened. They just got in the helicopter, they got flown around for a little bit, and got to point at the Hollywood sign and stuff, and then they just got landed at, and everyone is going to be shocked by this, landed at a hot tub.
the most Bachelor thing ever. And then they had some champagne with strawberries in it, and
More champagne.
he had, at this point, he had a safety pin in his ear, which disappeared later.
Yes,
I don't know why I fixated on that so much, but it really stood out to me.
well, it was just funny. It was, because the other thing too was, it even, it looked like a nicer than normal safety pin.
Yes, it was gold
it was
and
like
very large.
like a bronzed
Yeah.
like safety pin. So I don't know if like he normally has a stud that he lost or something, and so he put it in to keep the hole open. But then that doesn't really make sense because he didn't have I keep saying paper clip. It's a safety pin. He didn't have it in the evening portion, but he didn't have a stud in the ear. So I don't know if that was supposed to be some sort of statement.
Yeah, I was very puzzled by that.
That was very funny. Good notice on that, because yeah, that was. You're like, what? Does he have a paper clip in his ear? I'm like, wait. No, it's not a paper clip, but he does have a safety pin in his ear. Maybe that's some sort of LA style thing I don't know about. Perhaps. Talk to me about how you felt about the nighttime portion.
I thought it went really well. He had told us earlier that he had a daughter, and so we learned more here that she's 6. She's apparently the human form of coffee, so I'm assuming very energetic, high energy.
I think, did you say she was like 6 years old?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he is very much a girl dad.
Which, I don't know, that's always weird to me when people say that. They're like, I'm totally a girl dad.
Or a boy mom.
What does that even mean?
I feel like you are kind of forced into that. If you have a girl and you're a dad, that makes you a girl dad.
Right. I guess maybe there's some sort of cultural connotation that I don't understand, or if it's like some sort of extra stuff that goes along there that I just don't understand. It's always mystified me about what people mean when they say that. It's like, yeah, as you said, wouldn't just having kids who are girls or boys make you a girl dad or a boy dad?
I never hear anyone say boy dad, though. It's always the opposite gender. Anyway.
I know. It's a little weird.
Also, so she ends up giving Nate the rose because, like, it goes well. But I thought it was really interesting that in her ITM, she said she started asking herself, like, am I ready to become like a mom right now? And she's like, well, I don't have to decide that right now. And to me, that was like, translation, I'm going to keep him around for a long time, but then eventually, as is normal with Bachelor I'm going to let him go near the end and say, I don't want to keep you away from your child anymore. I don't know. I took note of that. Just like, okay, probably not, but she likes him a lot. So,
yeah, I also, I'm never optimistic because I totally agree with you on that assessment. And I'm never optimistic when I hear a contestant talk about having a kid, because, well, theoretically that could work out, and I don't know. Do you know if that ever has anybody ever been chosen at the end who previously had a kid?
yes. Brad Womack chose Emily, who had a daughter. That didn't end up working out, but Jason Mesnick, was he chosen? No, I think he didn't get chosen. He became the Bachelor though, and he had a child.
Okay.
Emily, that same woman, also became the Bachelorette as well. So, but everyone else I think has not worked out.
Yeah, out of 26 Bachelor seasons now, we're currently in our 19th Bachelorette. We've had 7. I mean, I guess I'm not really gonna count Bachelor in Paradise because you're always recycling people from the other shows anyways. So, I mean, we're at a high number of shows here, and that's really almost never happened.
Yeah, one time out of all of those seasons. So it's not something that
I get optimistic about, and I don't want to like poop on people for this, but it just seems like the game is not really conducive to being played with kids. Like what people are going for. Typically, it seems like it's sort of like this different lifestyle, and so having somebody who has a kid. I mean, you had what's his face? Michael A. Michael A, who had the kid, and he made it far. And I guess maybe that could have worked out.
I don't think so.
That whole thing was a disaster and a whole nother story, anyways. But yeah, it seems like, if you have a kid as a contestant, it's just not working out. Like that influencer, jet setting type of lifestyle it
doesn't match.
No, it doesn't match, and also I think you just have on sort of a different level, it maybe takes a certain mindset or maturity to take that sort of thing on, to be like the step parent.
It adds like a whole real world element that most relationships from this show never have to deal with.
Right. We don't want real world elements here. We want fantasy
like
world.
A child is like,
that's real.
A whole
that is real
responsibility. Like
that is as real as it gets. Right there is like a 6-year-old caffeinated child.
Yeah, you better be like really sure, which is probably why they don't usually get chosen.
Right. And so
for now, everything is great, but I would be very surprised if Nate wins.
I'm in agreement with you. Absolutely. But, he's a good kisser. He's easy on the eye, so we'll keep him around for now.
So we're now at the cocktail party for our first ever rose ceremony. And I thought this was very funny. We started off with Rachel and Mario, Mario got Gabby's first impression rose, but he's
playing the field. You gotta get in with both of them.
Yes, but then he like picks her up and starts doing squats, and Gabby can see him.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't want to necessarily assume that Gabby is jealous about this, but it was implied. It seemed
Yes, like of all the spots at the Bachelor Mansion, you chose right in front of her where she's talking to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and as he's like doing exercises with her, like lifting her, like literally exercises with her as his weights. Yeah, that's gonna end super well.
So the rest of his cocktail party is mostly focused on Chris. That was the main crux of it. And
yeah, pretty much anything else was just quick sort of montage.
Yeah, there's nothing much else.
Nonsense.
So Quincy is the one leading the charge about Chris.
Quincy? Are you talking about celibate Quincy?
Yes. I didn't even consider that element that he would have an issue with this, but that
no,
makes
I
sense.
mean, I didn't say that assuming that being celibate is what made him have so much of an issue. I just had to bring it up again because it's cracking me up.
But yes, he like rounds up all the guys and he's like, should we tell Gabby and Rachel about what Chris said? And so he does. He grabs Rachel actually to tell her first. And of course Rachel is not happy to hear this, and then grabs Gabby, tells her. Gabby is shocked. I think she said ew at one point. And so they go and grab Chris, and this does not go well for him.
No, which I totally get having issue with it. I totally get that he is just prime butthole material and all of this. It is kind of humorous to me at some level that they took so much offense at like the actual like sexual element of it. Like I think it was Rachel who's like, I don't want to be like viewed as an object, or like I forget exactly what she said, which is
sexualized.
Sexualized. Which look, I get that, you want to be viewed as a person. People should view you as a person, but it is a little rich when you're running around tonguing people and you're like, I don't want to be sexualized. Which, I mean, it kind of boils down to, I don't want to be sexualized by people that are gross, which is also understandable. Just a little weird.
It might have been because she was like, we're not at that point yet. So like, we're not at the point where you should even be thinking about having sex with me, or the order fantasy suites would be happening in.
Right. I mean, it is so abhorrently premature. Like, as I mentioned earlier, like the only people who have been sent home at this point are the people they specifically could not stand.
Yes. Singled out.
Which, man, why? Like, I never cease to be amazed by how stupid people can be on this show. Like,
yeah, he was caught red-handed. He had no explanation other than like, oh, I thought it was an appropriate thought.
Well, like, because let me tell you, Christy, all right, he's the kind of guy, he doesn't half-ass things. When he's in a situation, he's going to think it all through and think at the start at the end and work his way back. It's a positive trait. It's totally just what normal people would do in this situation.
So funny though, because like on his way out, he had to like walk through a huge crowd of people, which was so embarrassing for him. And then he gets to the entryway and asks, "What do I do now?" As if he didn't know where the exit was.
Just walk down the street and never come back.
Except he couldn't even follow directions. Because then he walks back into the house, which I don't know if there was like a cut or some talking with producers, because usually you're not allowed to do that. So I guess they let him back in.
I mean, what they wanted us to believe was he like went to some sort of side entrance or something. He like bypassed somehow
There is no bypassing. There's crew members everywhere.
You say that, but they don't have enough crew members to capture everything. So maybe there was a chink in the armor. But yeah, it cracked me up so much that he's just like, I have been sent home, but you know what? I am going to gather these guys who have wronged me, and I'm going to demand an explanation.
Yeah, he like one by one found all of them, and they all sit down. So he's talking to Quincy and Jordan and Hayden, and he's like, well, why'd you guys, like, did this come up? Like, just trying to get to the bottom of it. So then Rachel and Gabby find him again.
They're like, what the frick?
Excuse me, didn't we ask you to leave?
Which, and I look, maybe this was all staged. Maybe this is just the magic of television. But it is kind of funny to me in these moments, which are at least supposed to be like this off the cuff, like chaos happening, and so you end up like actually seeing producers and like camera people and stuff.
I love that. I love the behind the scenes
because the process has broken down so much that they just they can't maintain the illusion of hiding the crew members anymore because they just have to show this nonsense that's going down.
Yes. My favorite thing is when you can see like camera people scrambling to get into position.
Red alert, red alert, red alert. We have crap going down. We were not ready. We were not prepared. Wait, he didn't leave? He didn't leave. Oh no. So they were not happy. They were very angry.
And so he finally officially leaves.
Oh, that was very funny. Oh, I love it when they get caught with their pants down. So hilarious. Oh man. So what did you think about the actual rose ceremony dynamic? How they're choosing to play this?
I found it a little weird because Jesse says if you get a rose, it's coming from both women, which I guess is like, so you have a chance with either one, but I don't know. I don't really believe that, but I guess at this point, nobody has officially picked a side, so we're still going with the both women dynamic. Yeah,
I don't imagine that we can continue this dynamic for very long.
No, they're going to have to pick soon.
Right, and I think we have seen that happen in the previews where it's one or the other of them giving out roses specifically, which, spoiler alert, is going to cause some major problems.
Yes, we've seen that
when certain people try to give roses to other certain people specifically, and they're like, actually, I don't really think you're very attractive, and I came for the other person. Talk about some hurt feelings.
So,
oh boy.
It looked like 18 men got roses in addition to the 3 who already had them.
Right. I believe that's my count as well. So we should be down to 21 after an initial 32. So we're moving in the right direction. Oh, let me tell you. Oh, it's so nice when we just have a bloodbath and so many go away. It's like if you were to have a ton of tabs open on your computer and you go through and you clean out like a whole mess of them.
What do you know about that?
Okay, let's not bring our personal lives into this. But it's such a great feeling.
Is it?
Yes, it is. It's real nice. And that's kind of how I feel here because it's like, man, it's so nice to have extra brain space freed up. You know, now we can start to actually
learn names
and have less confusion when they forget to put the chiron or whatever they call it up with the person's name, and you like it gets so much easier to follow. That's what like part of me is like, you know, let's just start recapping at like episode 5.
There's still so many men I don't know their names.
I know, but this is at least a step in the right direction. Yeah. I guess I think there's a little bit of confusion there with, like, we don't know who the heck Kirk is, for example. No. I think all we know about Spencer is that he just spends a lot of time complaining. Tyler, who the heck is Tyler? I'll have to go back to our Meet the Men episode to find out who Tyler is.
I'm sure there will be another cut next week. So.
Oh, I'm sure we'll probably. You think we'll lose 8? Think we could lose 8? Or not that many?
No,
6?
Not 8.
Hopefully 6. I'm rooting for 6. I'm always rooting for the max number of casualties every week because I'm lazy. That's what I want. That's what I want in life. Is that. The other thing I want in life is for Meatball to go home. And do I have just cause for my vendetta? No, not particularly. Well, I don't know. That whole Speedo sauce routine was verging on a crime against humanity, but I guess we should survey some Italians to see how offensive they find it that ABC has basically just taken this man and told him to be a hollow shell of a stereotype as possible, which is a great lead-in to the end tag, because it's literally just him getting some 2-on-1 time with some Italian food that he definitely didn't make.
No. Can't imagine it was very tasty for them.
Well, I mean, it probably wasn't as bad as it could be. Like, there are probably worse things to sit around for hours, out in the environment than like noodles. Now, if it was a meat sauce, that was pretty congealed, I'm sure, by the time they got to it. But I mean, better than sushi or something. Good Lord, by the time they get around to any of these circumstances where they have food, you just know that, like, that's just been sitting at craft services for like an entire 24 hours. Ugh, unbelievable. Well, that's the end of this episode. And I'm still of the opinion that it was a bit unfair to set up this season like they did. I know that it's like, it's new and improved and girl power and they're BFFs, but that really, when the conclusion is 95% going to be their relationship gets torn apart because of how stressful the process is and they're competing for the same guys, I'm not a huge fan of that. And I haven't been shy, I don't think, last season. I don't particularly care for Gabby's voice. I don't know if she has a nose issue or she's just a valley girl, but that does kind of grate on me a little bit. But even then, she seems like a decent person, and this isn't fair.
I think once the guys pick who they want to go with, it will be more normal. But right now, it's a little chaotic.
I'm just envisioning a lot of trauma.
Yeah, there are going to be some hurt feelings from that, but once you have your set of guys, each one of them, I think it'll be a little better.
I guess Christy is more optimistic about this season than I am. What a surprise. I'm such an optimistic person, though. Well, we won't keep everyone for too much longer. We did get we got so much tongue this episode. It was real gross. 15
Wow.
kisses. Probably 13 of them were visible tongue. Absolutely
So fun.
gross. No. No. Oh, so terrible, especially when you go back and forth between the two of them. Ugh.
Ugh.
Not my cup of tea.
Some mouthwash.
Oh, well, Christy, it's that time again. How can people get in contact with us?
You can email us at groupdatespod@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter or Instagram at groupdatespodcast.
And I mean, if you have, come on, like, are people really ever going to go to this? Probably not, because hopefully they have subscribed or followed, whatever the terminology is, in their favorite podcasting app. But you could actually go to groupdatespod.com, and all of our episodes live there as well.
So many places on the internet.
I know, so
to
many.
Find us.
We are everywhere. And I mean, you can probably search for Group Dates and Hot Takes on YouTube. I don't know if we'll show up. I don't know how that works. We have 0 subscribers, so we don't have a custom URL. But those will be there as well. I mean, we are everywhere, basically. However, if there is a favorite podcasting platform that we are not on, that you would like us to be on, let us know. I mean, you can message us on any of those platforms that we have described, and if it's feasible, why wouldn't we put our episodes there? I mean, most things just get it from Apple Podcasts, but there are some things you have to do it specifically for. So let us know if that is the case. As always, we try to be receptive to our favorite people in the universe, which obviously is our lovely audience.